Socrates walks into a bar. 3 comedians solving the world's problems through philosophy. And yeah, a responsible amount of alcohol.
Hello and welcome to Socrates Walks Into a Bar, a show that encourages critical thinking and moderate drinking. My name is Tim Batt. I am 2 papers shy of a degree that I started 11 years ago, but I will get round to it at some point. I'm joined by Professor Ray O'Leary, comedian and academic expert in the field of philosophy. I'm also joined by Nick Rado, professional comedian and a man who frequently reads at least the first 2 paragraphs of online articles.
Yes, and it doesn't stop me weighing into any big problem at any time. So, yeah, I'm very learned in the first part of any kind of conversation.
I don't think it should let you hold back on voicing your opinion.
No.
Loud and proud.
In fact, often I'll just go next after I say the words that I've said. After I've solved that problem.
Today we wanted to talk about moral philosophy and specifically the trolley problem, which is a problem that has existed among philosophers for, I don't know, at least as long as trains have been around.
30 years.
Way longer than 30 years.
Well, trains have been, but the trolley problem's been around for 30 years, I
Oh,
think.
really?
I think 40.
Right.
All right.
50.
This problem used to just be some dick measuring contest among moral philosophers, but now it has real world implications because we're about to be joined on the roads by self-driving cars. Instead of a human driver, there'll be a bit of computer code determining the decisions they make. Here's the issue. Let's say we're in a self-driving car, totally autonomous. We're on a bridge and we're boxed in at all sides. We've got cars on all sides of us. There's a truck in front that's very heavy, and its front 2 tyres blow out, hits a bit of scrap metal. Suddenly the truck comes to a stop. We're going too fast to brake before we hit it. The car has to decide whether it goes forward and kills us, swerves to the left and kills 4 40-year-olds, or swerves to the right and kills 2 teenagers. What do we instruct the computer code to get the car to do?
Teenagers every time.
Oh, okay. You're going, what would be better for society overall?
Well, they've lived a pretty good life.
Would that not be the 40-year-olds, maybe?
Maybe, but this is my theory on all of these things. So I'm glad that we've got an up-to-date version because I think I can beat the trolley problem.
Really?
Yeah. It's easy. So the trolley problem is on tracks, right?
Yeah.
So you have
Okay.
to pull a lever and you go onto the tracks. So this is what I would do.
Hold on. Just briefly explain what the trolley problem is.
So the trolley problem is you're in a trolley and so you either go towards one way and you kill yourselves into like a brick wall, or you swerve and then you go into one way and you kill a whole bunch of other people, or you swerve another way and kill another. It's basically the same thing, but with trolleys on a train track.
Yeah.
But how you beat that is when you pull the lever to go off to one way, just as the train is going to go that way, then you pull the lever back and then you derail the train.
I see.
And then you don't kill anyone, but you just fall over.
You think that you could derail a train?
Yeah.
In the same way that you've derailed moral
Philosophical,
quandary.
Exactly.
Okay.
Is this way, would you derail the train just by pulling the brakes?
No, because you're pulling the lever.
So
So-
we lift it off the
So you
track.
lift it. So the way that the tracks go is it goes from this track to that track.
Oh, and you
but
wait
there's a
just-
little bit of time where it's not joining any tracks. So in that little bit of time, I reckon I'll measure it out.
Yeah.
And I'll pull it just at the right time so the train derails. My only, there might be a slight risk that everyone dies.
Yeah. Quite
And it wipes
possible.
out everybody, and it's the worst situation. But there could be a 1% opportunity where everyone survives.
Yeah,
So what I like about this, Nick, is you've not only misunderstood the solution, but also the problem. Because an important part of the trolley problem is that it's about whether or not you intervene.
Yeah,
That's
right.
the main philosophical point, is that you're not on the train.
Yeah, sure.
You're on the tracks.
Okay.
And so there's usually...
The trolley's hurtling towards 5 people, but you can pull the lever and hurtle it towards 1, and then you got to make that choice.
So it's like, do you intervene and then you're responsible for killing directly 2 people?
Yeah.
Or do you not intervene and you are sort of still semi-intentionally responsible for 5 deaths.
But you could do that multi-track drifting and kill 6 people. If you,
Okay, well, let's move into the updated version, 2019.
Yeah.
Self-driving situation. Now, we actually did a morality test, didn't we? I
Yes.
think, Ray, you sent us...
yeah, so there's a...
Did you make this up, Ray? Did you code this test?
code this violent, horrible
Yeah.
test? No. There's a test that's provided by MIT. So it's this self-driving car problem. And so you're given a self-driving car that's driving down a road, and you get given, and it's the brakes have stopped working, and you get given 2 options. You can either keep going straight or swerve. Sometimes going straight kills the person in the car. Sometimes swerving kills the person in the car. Sometimes you're killing pedestrians. Sometimes your only choice is to kill pedestrians, and you're given sort of 2 groups of people to kill. Sometimes they're animals. Sometimes they're humans. Sometimes they can be fitter, unhealthier. They can be doctors. They can be homeless. And so you get given all these range of options, and we get given these 20 sort of options where we had to choose who lived and who died, and then we got given our results overall about what we cared about. It analysed what we thought was important for morality, and so we've all got our results. And so I guess we're going to go through now and see who we thought should survive during this AI malfunctioning thought experiment.
Okay. So the first thing is most saved character.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have one?
Yes, I have my most saved character.
Yeah.
I got the female runner. So I would say
I see what's going on here. The athletic, probably younger woman.
Likes a little bit of philosophy.
I did not...
long walks on in front of self-driving cars.
I actually didn't expect, but the MIT kept asking me if I wanted to kill the fat or skinny people.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, I didn't know this was part of it.
Right.
This makes me feel very uncomfortable.
Yes.
So, but you were saving athletic woman,
I-
left, right, and centre.
You realize you put this problem into like a Tinder date situation. This is a dating app for you.
I can put this on my profile now.
Who did you save most?
I saved a character that looked most like me, actually. It's just so like mid to late 30s, some dude in running shorts.
Yeah. And he's holding a mic. He's doing a type 5. He's doing a type 5.
And he's got some great ideas about trolleys.
I keep saving old people. My most saved person is an elderly person crossing the street.
That's
Really?
so interesting that given the choice. I mean, I guess that's the classic thing is you help the old person cross the road and stuff. But it's interesting that so this is a life or death scenario. You know, it's like triaging at a hospital. You know, there's only so someone has to die, someone has to live, and it's interesting that you choose because normally when you get given an old person, they also give you a young person.
Yes.
So you're sort of killing children and stuff.
That's not even the worst part. My most killed character for some reason was a female doctor, and that's my wife. So I don't know what that's about, but I was not happy to see that result from the MIT Moral Machine results.
Were you so worried about playing favourites? Like you didn't want to see biased at all?
I myself out. I was like, I know what you want me to do. I'm going to kill the skinny woman. I'm smarter than you, MIT.
Wow, that is amazing. Okay, well, especially because the reason why that is so telling, I think, is because were many other options to kill.
Like a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so
my most killed character was a dog.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, my most killed character is a cat.
Shit.
My thought pattern for this was, I think my results are reversed because the way that I chose to swerve into a certain particular set of people is because in my mind I wasn't killing them, I was swerving into them because they had the most chance to survive in a hospital.
Right. I mean, once again, it's like you didn't read it wasn't a long paragraph, but it said the following people will die in each scenario.
I'm like, well, will they?
Or will they MIT?
Will they MIT? This person looks pretty fit. And I'm just thinking like he'll either be able to run out of the way Or he's got a much higher chance of healing in the hospital.
Let's zoom out a little bit and sort of analyze what we're talking about here.
Sure.
There's different approaches to this. So my general approach to the trolley problem is utilitarianism, right? Which is the greatest good for the greatest many. This was an idea put forward originally by a guy called Jeremy Bentham. Is that right?
Yep.
Googled this very late last night.
JB.
JB. JB, high five.
JB Smoove.
He,
I think he's known in the philosophical world.
That's right. He was kicking around in the 18th century, known predominantly as JB Smoove. Among the British philosophical aristocracy. He was a cool cat. He was the first ever recorded person to be for homosexual law reform. He was like, why is it illegal to have gay sex?
Wow.
Do it.
Yeah.
It's none of the state's business.
Yeah, great.
He was also a big fan of animal rights.
Yep.
Because
Wow.
he thought that the measure of how you treat animals or differently able people should be their capacity to feel pain, not their intellect, which I think is a very interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, right.
So utilitarianism for me, it just makes common sense, right? Like so when I was doing the trolley problem, I thought I was trying to put everyone on the same level as like everyone's life is worth the same. So how can I kill the least amount of people?
Right.
Right?
Right.
But inadvertently, it's come out that I want to maybe kill my wife.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, that is a criticism of utilitarianism, that it can be quite personal, like impersonal and cold and you know, cruel.
It seems so. And marriage ending,
Yeah.
particularly.
And create quite a lot of tension at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also try to follow a utilitarian type approach to these results because utilitarianism is all about saving more lives or trying to do the greatest good for the greatest number. And given that we're in this life or death situation, I was so for example, I would choose to save a younger person over the older person because the younger person has more life ahead of them. So causes a greater amount of happiness in the world if we leave them to live, because then they can go on and live a happier life. Whereas an older person, if they survive, they might only live another 5 years, for example, as opposed to 80. And so you're maximizing the number of lives.
So
Yeah.
so that's
on
what
Earth.
you think? What's that called?
So that is, I would consider
It's
that a form of utilitarianism.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I've sort
sure.
of married the utilitarianism with everyone's life should be worth the same,
Yeah.
regardless of how old you are,
So, yeah.
which maybe are two incompatible
Yeah, well,
thoughts.
I get. So the thing about utilitarianism is it's sort of like a calculator. So everyone's lives do matter equally. Everyone's happiness does matter equally. Just because say you're a king, being a king wouldn't make your happiness more important than mine. Everyone's happiness goes into the machine, into the calculator equally, but it can come out looking like causing quite unequal outcomes. So, for example, Peter Singer, an Australian philosopher, he talks about in his book. Say you came across someone who, their leg, they've broken their leg, that's in a huge amount of pain. And you've also met someone who's stubbed their toe or something. And you've got 2 shots of morphine. Now, to treat them equally, you could give them both 1 shot of morphine each. The stubbed toe is going to seem like, a distant dream to that guy. But the guy who's broken his leg and is in pain, he's still going to be in quite a lot of pain. And so he says what you should do is give the 2 shots of morphine to the one guy. And so that is utilitarian reasoning. Both their happiness has gone into the machine and has been weighed equally, but you can still cause the greater amount of good by treating them unequally.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Because you
It's
minimize
all
the amount of
outcome focused.
Yeah.
However you get there is irrelevant.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with the trolley problem,
yeah.
the fact if you're pulling the lever or not,
Yeah.
if you have to actively swerve in to kill people, irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's just how many lives
Yeah.
will get saved at the end.
Exactly.
That seems like intuitively kind of hard to argue against.
Yeah,
It seems quite common sense.
The
to
problem
me.
is it has a lot of, you can end up sort of justifying anything because, any action, in a theoretical situation can, cause good outcomes, and it can lead to situations where it feels like you're being cold towards your family. If you're a strict utilitarian, you shouldn't care about your family more than anyone else because, your family are just other human beings on the
Especially
planet.
if it's a small family.
Yeah,
And the next door neighbours are a greater family
yeah,
than you.
you should start giving some of your money to them.
Yeah, exactly. So you guys are both utilitarianism. I don't know if that's the correct way of
I'm
saying
a
that.
fanatic.
You're a fanatic?
I
So-
go around trying to figure out how to make a time machine to kill Hitler
Yeah.
as a baby,
Yeah.
all of that kind of
all
stuff.
about that stuff. So I think for me, I'm into this thing called game theory.
Oh, yep.
Do you know about game theory?
A little bit.
I think
Not enough.
Listen, I am the king of only half reading stuff, so I'm just going to try and explain it to you. The game theory, what I understand is, so life is a game, and like any game, you have to sort of weigh up whether it's worth you playing. So if there's enough in it for you to win, or for you to come out and, or at least have a good time, trying to get it, or even if it is an achievable game to win.
Mm-hmm.
So the game of life, you have to, if you don't think that that's an achievable or winning type of game, then the game theory is you should commit suicide, because you may as well tap out now.
I had that board game as a kid, and I do not remember that being an option. I remember there being little pegs on a cart and a spinning wheel.
Yeah.
I don't remember any ability to
That
be
was
like...
the game of life.
Yeah, is that what
Yeah.
happened when the spinner came off the spinner? That was happened to me a lot. Is that
You
can't
had
just
to turn the car upside down. It was like, I'm
No,
sorry,
that-
you've ended it.
That's when you flip the board over and then you run out of the room and say, "I hate you all" to your mum and dad. No, it says you may as well commit suicide if you're not gonna be in the game, right? So if you decide to be in the game, then you have to be all in. You have to gamble, because if you're not all in, and if you're not trying to win the game, then if you're just sitting to the side and just hoping that things will pass and just watching it and just being in the game but just observing it, that's an act of suicide in itself, because even though you're living, you're not living your best life, if that makes sense.
According to this theory, what is like living? What do you do to... how do you get points?
All in.
Yeah,
All in.
So basically, you need if you're going to live a proper life, you need to take some risks.
You need to take risks to try and at least level up and play the game. Try
But
and
what
score
does
some
that mean?
points.
Does that mean helping other people? Does that mean self-improvement? Does that mean accumulating as much money as possible?
Whatever that means to you, whatever you're trying to get out of the game.
Often I understand it as in game theory, is it sort of trying to maximize your own self-interest a lot of the time. Trying
So
to
whatever your self-interest is.
trying to figure out what's best for you.
So here's what we know about Nick so far. He saved the character that looked the most similar to himself, and he's become a fan of a theory that is about maximizing self-interest. It's quite illuminating.
Well,
Because I thought you were quite a nice guy before we started doing this ep.
then it becomes maybe this is a bit more therapy than it is philosophy.
I don't mean to point out sort of a glass houses throwing stones kind of thing, Tim, but you do want to murder your wife. So
Yeah.
so I don't-
Credit where it's due. Yeah. I mean, none of us are getting out of this one clean, are we?
The moral.
How do we drag Professor Ray O'Leary?
down the hole with us?
well, look, some of my results I'm not happy to share. So when we get to that,
Oh, go
Okay,
on.
let's
What
get
are
on
you
to
What are you
them
most
Well-
unhappy with?
one of the other things they analyze your results on is whether or not you saved more lives or less lives. Did the number of people that you could possibly have saved in these scenarios we looked at, did that influence your decisions at all? For me, it was 100%. Every time I could save more lives rather than less, regardless of who it was, I would save more lives, unless it was an animal, in which
Right.
case animals' lives I weighed less.
I was below the average, so other people, for saving more people, they said like this is what other people would do, and I was slightly under.
I couldn't read the graphs, so maybe you guys could help me with that because I didn't print it out. The pictures really helped.
Saving more lives, so
Okay, so that mattered a lot to
mattered
me.
a lot.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
fact, you were like, if
Yeah.
you could have gone any further over to saving as many people as you could, that's what that
I
said.
just would have
Yeah.
been murdering like
Yeah.
individuals
Yeah.
and giving the organs to save groups of individuals.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
save
Okay.
China.
You're the exact same position as me when it comes to saving
Yeah.
more. Yeah, just an emphasis on saving more lives rather than less, which makes sense if you're thinking in terms of a utilitarian,
Right.
Because you're trying to maximize the greatest good. Yeah,
Right.
I'm only 50%, just over 50%,
Yeah.
trying
Oh,
to
you
save
are.
everyone else. Yeah.
Because you were trying to.
Well, I was trying to
trying to
skill the
injure.
game. I was gambling. I was all in. I'm playing the game.
But you survived.
Yeah, but I survived.
The next thing is protecting passengers. So this is an interesting
Ooh.
thing for self-driving cars as well, which is a question I guess the makers of them have to make. Is that if you were developing a self-driving car, would you try and make it save passengers or would you try and make it save pedestrians? Because you want to sell your car, and would people buy a car that in certain scenarios will kill the driver
Now,
over?
This
is a great-
is
yeah.
super interesting.
Yeah.
It's like humans instinctively have a really high prioritization of self-preservation,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
We will always want to protect ourselves, often at the expense of even other lives
Yeah,
around us,
absolutely.
right? So the question becomes, do we want to program these cars to act like humans would. So we're kind of just replicating human drivers, but getting the convenience of humans don't have to drive, so we can get drunk all the time.
Yeah.
Or should we be ambitious enough to try to code a superior moral into these vehicles and put our own lives at risk a little bit more as a result?
So I feel that we should have the different options and we should be able to choose those options.
So here's the interesting thing about that. If
Yeah.
you introduced any choice, don't you think everyone would then go for the most asshole coded car?
No.
Because they would have to survive?
No, because this is what you do. I think within the car, you put your seatbelt on, you put the radio on, you start the engine, and then you go, all right, what mode is this car going to be in now on this trip?
You decide per ride.
Yeah, because if you have somebody in the car that you don't like, maybe you go,
I love this.
Like for example, if Tim was out for a drive with his wife.
Yeah. I'd be like, let's look after everyone. Let's look after everyone out there.
yeah, or if I'm driving by myself.
If Nick is in the car, he's like, protect me at all available costs.
But then you get the situation where, like, if I'm driving with Tim and his wife, and he sets it on one mode while he's not looking, I'll switch it to another mode. But I feel like that you feel different on different days about different things, and I feel like you should be able to choose. The problem is, as long as I think whatever you do, it can't cross the center line.
I think that should be a given.
That should be a given.
You can't select break the law and just there shouldn't be a murder mode.
No.
Like what was that Stephen King movie about the murderous car?
the car?
Christine? Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
No, are you thinking of Carrie?
No. I think it's called Christine. It's a woman's name. He wrote it while he was on a lot of cocaine.
Really?
Yeah. It was about this murderous
Wow.
car.
Okay.
So it was a vision of your future. When you're having a bad day, haven't had a coffee today, blam, kill everyone. What do you think of that, Ray?
Well, so part of my feeling is that I'm torn because I feel like eventually self-driving cars are going to be safer than human drivers. I think eventually, when we've got this proper, it's many years away.
Oh yes. Yeah.
But it seems like we want to be encouraging people to buy self-driving cars and get in them. But then the thing is, will people want to buy self-driving cars, which are going to be safer overall probably than humans driving?
This is the thing. They're going to be massively safer.
Yeah.
There will always be accidents and things.
Obviously, yeah.
It's the
Especially
physical
when
world, but especially when Nick's on the road and if he has any ability to choose how this car drives. But if
All the space is on the sidewalk for it.
it's sort of less of a philosophical point, but the real problem is going to be when we have some self-driving cars and some not self-driving cars.
Yeah.
That's going to be the tricky bit. But when they're all self-driving, it's going to be so much safer out there.
But so is it worth trying to encourage people to buy self-driving cars by making the self-driving cars a bit selfish in these kind of scenarios? So that way people are more likely to buy them. So that way there are more self-driving cars. So that way overall the roads are safer.
A very utilitarian approach. So you sort of use it's almost a marketing tactic to go, there's a self-preservation element, but that's
beneficial
all
to
in
everyone.
the serving of saving more lives ultimately.
I'd love to see
like
that advertising campaign. Just a picture of this big family, extended family out on a holiday, and this one person who's an alcoholic. Which car will you decide?
Let me ask you both this. Do you think we should be coding these cars to act like humans, or do you think we should try and reach for a better moral code in these machines?
Better moral code, because I feel like anyone who is a coder, they'll have biased into how they were treated when they were growing up. So they'll always treat a certain group of, like, jocks, for example, who maybe bullied them at school for coding. They may have a car that's like very...
You've been
also
working on a sports show as well. You're worried about these self-driving
about being
cars.
lumped in with a sports bullying situation.
If we go like left, right, up, down, A, B on the steering wheel, it goes into murder mode.
Yeah, I think so. It goes to beast mode, which goes up into...
You get the bazooka.
It turns into a tank. You reckon we should be reaching for better than human
Absolutely.
code?
But here's the other question on that. How do you do that?
Well,
Yeah, that's the
exactly,
thing.
right? So I think we shouldn't, just because I don't think we have the ability to, and I think we will tank it so bad that I think if we try to achieve something that is better than humans, but it's humans developing the code, I think we're going to accidentally create really bad, like Frankenstein monster cars.
Well, that's I think what philosophers are trying to do when they develop moral theories. Anyway, they're trying to, people they'll think one thing in a certain situation, but they'll think another thing in another situation, and they're inconsistent. Their two beliefs, and so philosophers, ethicists, they try and figure out what's this consistent thing, what's a moral theory I can apply to every single situation. We've ended up with all these different moral theories, and I guess MIT, it seems, are trying to sort of put that to a side and just sort of get a rough feeling for what the average person thinks by doing the survey online.
Yeah,
and I don't. Well, I guess I'm not sure what the best option is, because it's, do we pick one of these developed moral theories that have been developed for a few hundred years, few thousand years, or do we just survey a bunch of people and see what they think? It's
Is that what they're doing when we filled out this MIT moral machine? Are we like informing the code of future self-driving cars?
I hope not.
Fucking same, dude.
Yeah, especially because if it's designated to you, this is what Tim wanted. This is what he likes.
Oh man, no. Can I just have on the record? Please don't do that, MIT.
Yeah.
Please.
Here's the rule that I live by. It's Confucius, who is the biggest Chinese philosopher. But his thing is the golden rule, which is do to other people what you want to do be done to yourself.
Yeah.
And
so Jesus plagiarized that.
mate, he did. I'm going to say he did.
Do unto others is another one of those ones that feels intrinsically sensible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
except when you get into fetishes.
right. So if you don't mind. Yeah, I see what you mean. It depends on what your limit of...
Everyone's got different
fine.
tastes and whatnot.
See,
and you can extend it into other realms
Yeah.
outside the bedroom. But, that's just a good, tangible example for everyone, I think.
So that's my I believe in that. It's a golden rule. So that's how I treat people. So I treat people how I want to be treated, and that's the only thing I go on. But that's I don't think there's any other ethical rule to live by. But you disagree.
I think the golden rule, again, it's a good rule of thumb, but it's definitely not the be all and end all. So, for example, brain surgery. I would like brain surgeons to do brain surgery unto me, but I would not like to do brain surgery unto them, because I'm not a brain surgeon. There's sort of like there's
I think isn't that slightly off though, because we're not.
But then that becomes another problem. So the thing is, like, I think so. I think Immanuel Kant has a very similar theory to this, and I feel like it suffers from a similar problem, which is how specific are you being? So when I want the brain surgeon to, I don't know, do brain surgery for me, I guess you might say like help each other, or
or pay for a service, or pay what you're professionally
or perform
good
your
at.
job to the best of your ability at all times.
Yes.
But the thing is, how specific do you want the rule to be? So is it do brain surgery, or is it perform your job, or is it perform your job on a Monday, or is it perform your job? So you can make the rule as wide or as narrow as you want, depending on the example, and it's quite, I think, difficult to tell how you plug in the right action.
I would be so much more impressed if Confucius did say, do unto brain surgery as you want brain surgery done unto you, 500 years before Jesus was kicking around. Like, then I think he's got some moral authority and weight to be like, I called this thing 1,500 years before it was even in existence.
Yeah, and I feel like I'd have more respect for him as well if he actually said that as well. I called this heaps before Jesus did.
But
he noticed he was living in the BC, which is the big giveaway that Jesus stole it.
But I guess the big problem with the golden rule is that we want different things, right?
Yeah.
The way that we want to be treated is different for individuals. So you can't project your idea of what is good onto someone else and claim a moral high ground.
True. So this is really a big eye-opener for me as a person, because it's sort of going onto the selfish situation.
It is interesting how like these things do kind of like line up for us.
Yeah.
I don't know what the me killing my wife thing means though, and I was
well, you've just
shocked
put fetishes,
and
so I'm not too
devastated.
sure.
Yeah, once we get to Freud, I'm sure we'll figure this all out.
The fetishes thing just seems like the cleanest example of, not cleanest, the most obvious example you could give to someone of why the golden rule has flaws in it. Immediately, they're like, got it. I don't want to be pissed on.
Yeah.
But some people do. And that doesn't mean you should do it to other people.
The golden shower rule.
Exactly. The golden shower rule.
That's what Tim lives by.
The golden shower exception to the golden rule. But then if you don't do that, then what should be your abiding moral authority?
Greatest good by the greatest number. That's one. You could be a virtue ethicist. Try to do what the wisest person does. Or
I like that.
You could be a manual Kant. Which is very similar to the golden rule. Do an act only on the intention that you could will at any time to be a universal law. There's lots of.
Do you know I genuinely try to live by that a bit.
What's this? I can explain that. I don't understand that. So what is it?
His one, Immanuel Kant, is very similar to the golden rule. It's basically whenever you do something, think of the intention or the principle you're acting on, and then try and imagine a world where everyone acted on that principle. And if it works, then it's okay. If it doesn't work, don't do it. So, for example, you can't lie because if there was a world where everyone went around and lied, you could never trust anyone. So there'd be no point in communicating to them. Yeah. So you couldn't lie. So don't ever lie.
My only concern with that is that by the time you go through all of those checkpoints of what to do, the car's already hit you.
It's a fair point.
It takes a long time. Should I get out of the way of this car coming towards me? Well,
all right. The next thing was gender preference. And so did the person's gender affect whether or not you...
so this is Robo Bros before Robo Hoes.
And I've got some bad news for you, Robo Bros. I was apparently 100% female, which I did not realize I was doing, but apparently every time I was choosing women over men, apparently.
What, to be
to
killed?
survive?
To survive, right?
Yeah.
This feels like you're trying to find a date by not killing as much of the dating pool for you as possible.
It's a bad sign that one of my best traits as a partner is I won't murder you. I think it's sort of very low bar.
It's a lot better than being me.
Yeah, that's
and my most prominent trait is I, for some reason, want to kill my spouse, according to this test.
So what were you then, if that was the case? I'm imagining you're very high on...
I was very male slanted, which sucks.
Saving the male
Yeah.
species.
It makes a lot of sense. And Nick, what about?
So I was preserving the females.
Yeah, but again, I personally don't think I was consciously using gender as a choice to.
Well, I think you were just trying to take out the competition for the date.
In Ray's defense, a little bit, and mine a lot, and maybe to an extent yours. Yeah. There has been a lot of judgment extrapolated by a series of questions that go, do you want this or this square?
Well, exactly.
Of
course.
It's life or death situations that...
You've always only got two. It's a multi-choice between one or two, and then it's going, hey, guess what? You're a misogynist spouse killer. It's like, well, no, I'm not.
Yeah, it's only 20 scenarios or something, not that many, really.
Well, that's it. And one of the things that doesn't actually measure, and which is what I based a lot of my decisions was saving the concrete blockade.
Oh, that's nice. So you wanted to preserve like the public good was this bit of construction?
The council work.
Yeah, okay.
So that didn't have to be repaired. So that didn't measure that. And so I'd like to know what the numbers were for that.
For a comprehensive study, they should have put that in.
They should have done that. MIT.
The next one is species. Humans 100% over animals every time.
Yeah, I was the same.
I was 100% humans as well.
Just very quickly before we move on, how many animals do you think you're worth?
Oh no, my dowry for any future bride.
Okay, let's go through it. How many horses do you think you're worth?
Well then, horses, because I was going to say it'd be less pigs, because like pigs are smart. So I'd think.
So you're assigning a weighting to intelligence.
Yeah, well, probably I guess they can appreciate how much pleasure they're getting. I guess is what pigs can appreciate the finer things in life.
You've married like hedonism with utilitarianism, and I really like it.
I feel like for me, I'm going to answer this on behalf of just straight off the bat. I think I'm the price of like the amount of animals on a small lifestyle block. That's my price. So I've got like maybe 4 or 5 chickens, maybe 2 or 3 cows, 1 sheep, a goat, and a cat and a dog.
Combined?
Combined.
Okay, real quick without thinking about it, I'm going to name an animal and you tell me how many of them you're worth, okay?
Yeah. Right.
Chickens.
22.
40.
You're just going to always be like more than Nick. All right, we'll start with you. Right, Professor Ray O'Leary, how many cows are you worth?
15.
One.
One cow.
Wow,
One
you
cow.
think it goes? Is it
Well,
just you?
actually, no, 0.
Is this because
I think a cow is worth more than me.
Is this because you
can't-
are quite schooled up in the Eastern philosophies, and that's quite a Hindu direction to go in?
Yeah, well, that's that would be a learned way to. I should have just said yes, but I went because I can't produce milk. So I
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that's I can't produce milk or
Yeah.
delicious ribs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That should have some moral weighting.
Yeah, no, I think.
How many dolphins are you worth?
I reckon a pod.
How many's in a pod?
I don't know, just
Like a
many of them.
dozen?
Yeah.
10.
10?
Yeah,
10 dolphins.
I'm trying to calculate. I'm trying to think how smart is the animal and how long do they live for?
Oh,
Right, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay then.
How many elephants are you worth?
8? Okay. How long do they live for? I'm not sure.
Really long, I think.
Oh.
Maybe like
That's quite-
40,
that's-
50 years?
That's quite, I
don't
reckon
know.
I'm one. I'm one elephant.
One elephant.
One elephant.
Elephants are beautiful too. And they're endangered. I feel
Yeah.
like that should be in the mix.
That should actually count as well because I
Yeah.
think the more like if an elephant dies, the other elephants feel even worse because there's
Yeah.
less elephants for them to hang out with.
Which, from that perspective, like humans should be worth less than most animals because we're under zero threat,
Yeah, that's
and they're
right.
all under
Our-
threat from us.
Our biggest threat is ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe we should be programming the self-driving cars to actually like favor
Animals.
Yeah.
Whoa.
get a bit of equilibrium.
But-
Because I think
Yeah.
we have been brainwashed a little bit by the Christian way of thinking, which is that we have dominion over the animal kingdom,
But-
and therefore intrinsically we are better than them morally, and we
but-
are have
Because
more
then,
worth.
do you have the greater? Yeah, like do you have the socialist? Everyone's on a level
Yeah.
playing field, including animals.
Yeah.
Because then you could go into trees and plants as
Yeah.
well.
But realistically, how many endangered animals are going to be crossing the road? like, and also, if an elephant crossed the road and a self-driving car hit it, would it notice? Would that?
Probably
that's what
not
it would
because they're all
have to-
little. They're those little like. Have you seen the
Oh,
Waymos?
like the pygmy elephants, whatever.
No, I mean the car.
Oh, the car.
So the most advanced artificial intelligence driven like driverless car.
Yeah.
The most advanced driverless car they have right now is by this company called Waymo,
Yeah.
and they look like toy cars.
Oh.
It was the spin-off from Google. It's now its own company that's under Alphabet, which is the umbrella company for Google.
Yeah.
And they use all of these nifty tricks, like they use LiDAR, which is the version
Oh,
of
yes.
radar that
Yeah.
uses lasers, like
Yeah.
light,
Oh, right.
optical paths. It's more accurate.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think a big dog could probably beat the car
Oh,
if it was
wow.
crossing the road.
Wow.
Like if you had an Alsatian or something,
Yeah.
or a
Great
Ridgeback.
Dane.
Is that what they're called? Ridgeback?
Great Danes.
Great Dane?
Yeah.
That would actually, I think,
Clifford?
beat the car. Clifford could probably wear 4 of those cars as roller skates, you know? And wouldn't that be cool?
I think I've actually seen that book.
So the next preference we could have is around age. And so, do you choose older people? Do you choose younger people? It appears that I was in the middle,
Okay.
which really shocked me because I would have consciously been choosing younger versus older just because I was trying to preserve the greatest number of lives left
Yeah.
on the planet.
Because you don't want to date older people. I understand. Like, this is abundantly clear, Ray.
Was the
All of
age-
your results match up. It's fine.
Why was the ages like 21 through to 25?
It's like Ray's target demo is the same as his the slider on his Tinder.
We should get Prince Andrew to do this test.
Oh boy.
Well, I think, when like you have an elderly person going in for an operation, but it's a big operation, it's like a double or triple bypass or a major hip or something like that, and they're a lot older. I think a lot of doctors have to sort of say, well, you might, and this is how they disguise it. There's a lot of effort and money being done to extend your life by maybe a year or 2 years.
Yeah.
Is it worth doing that, or spending that time and energy and money on someone who's a lot younger and maybe getting 20 years with them?
So this is really interesting, and exactly what this question speaks to. We put so much public money and resource into as you say, extending final years of life,
Yeah.
which are not high quality years.
Yes.
But it's just that it feels to me like a moral optical illusion that we feel there's a total responsibility to extend life to the maximum that we can, because we don't see directly the effects of taking that money from somewhere else, whereas it is coming out of a pot that could be better served improving the lives of the worse off or younger people.
I think I have a way to measure what is the crucial age.
Okay.
Of whether they're old, whether they have tipped over, and it's between tragedy and non-tragedy. Okay, you're a editor for a newspaper. How old does the person have to be to die to warrant the headline "Gone too soon"?
Brilliant. That's simple. I get it. That should be the litmus test.
That should be the litmus test. So what is it for you? I don't know what the answer is, but
it is 49 years of age.
49.
That's why everyone cries at their 50th birthday.
Yeah.
Because they are no longer taken too soon.
But here's the other thing. Here's what's going to add a little bit of flavour and a little bit of spice to this. That then escalates when they have children who are young. So if it's like they left behind a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old or something like that.
Right.
But if they left behind a 22-year-old and a 28-year-old.
Now, Nick, I want to remind everyone of how we kicked off this conversation, which was you saving a character that looked like yourself.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us, do you have any kids, perchance?
Yes, I got 2.
How old are they?
They're 2, almost 2 and 4.5.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
So I'm extending.
So you've got an arbitrary rule you've attached that fits directly in line with the situation you're currently in. I would never have guessed.
But also as a comedian wanting to still get in the paper.
That's the main thing.
The last one is called the social value preference.
Yeah, right.
And so also within the mix that you could save was sometimes there'd be people who were criminals or homeless, and then there'd be chief business executives and doctors. They were also in the mix. And so my social value preference is 100% towards doctors and chief business executives.
Yeah, me too. Tim?
I was a little bit slanted towards people of better social.
No, you're the you're 100% saving.
100% criminals.
Yeah, saving the homeless and criminals.
I was 100% saving people of low social value.
Low according to the test. Yeah.
Well, but that's kind of my whole perspective, right? Is like, who is the arbiter of who has social? I attach zero social value to an executive. In fact, for my money, I reckon most of them are the criminals.
Well, you say that on camera.
And in this test.
But then you fly out to the Canary Island.
That's true. I am a famed tax dodger.
There is the CEO of Walmart. I mean, that is an interesting perspective. The CEO of Walmart has claimed that, I guess he donates some money to charity, but he says the most charitable thing he's ever done is start Walmart, because he's employed so many hundreds of people. He's lifted people out of poverty. He's also provided, I guess, cheap food and stuff.
I think that is so flawed.
Yeah.
Because it's like looking at Walmart in this zero. It's like looking at Walmart in a vacuum, whereby there are two options: either millions of people could be unemployed, or they could work for Walmart.
Yeah.
If Walmart didn't exist, I think better jobs would have captured those people.
Yeah.
And I think that specific can be extended a lot to the social value of executives. Doctors, Zoe, if you're watching this, I truly believe have intrinsic value to society in a huge way. Honestly.
I think that just
in spite of my results.
I do. Yeah, you do love her.
Thank you.
You do
Nick's
love
on my
her.
side.
You do want to, you do want to see her alive. And we're going to cancel the trolley holiday.
This kind of it more kind of comes back to my thing of like me not really respecting the law in an intrinsic way.
Yeah.
As I was like, because it's depicted as a guy like classic bank robber with a sack full of money, and I was like, he's out there getting his. Fuck the banks.
Yeah.
They've been ripping us off for ages, so good on him. I quite like bank robbers. I think they're cool.
Listen, whenever I see a bank robbery in the paper, and it's like,
if it's non-violent.
Yeah, if it's non-violent, I always like, I'm always like, go. I hope they get away.
Hard.
Yeah, really. Like, the longer they stay away, the better.
Yeah, there's a great Benjamin Franklin quote, and it's what's robbing a bank compared with founding one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. See,
that is great.
that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. It's kind of like, taking the day's taking from the bank versus what they've taken from us.
So ultimately,
Yes.
self-driving cars are going to exist in the not too distant future.
Yeah.
They're out there now.
Yes.
In America, driving the streets being tested. These codes are being created.
Yeah.
How comfortable do you guys feel about these MIT results feeding it, considering we can see where the majority of people sit on these spectrums?
As long
how
as
are you comfortable with how it's going?
Yeah, really great. I think it's going to be amazingly safe as long as I get to choose what kind of car I'm driving. Then I'm all for it. And yeah, that's it. I think but I think overall it's going to save. Yeah, we just have to do it. I don't know why we're not moving faster on it, because also it's going to potentially, fingers crossed, solve the wars for oil and all that kind of stuff. Because if we can get electric self-driving cars, then that's going to...
We could just have electric cars is the other part of that.
Yeah, true.
There's no need for them to be self-driving, for them not to be petroleum. But
yes, true. That's true. But then we still have, people fighting over energy.
Right? How are you feeling about how current ethicists and philosophers of moral theory are tackling this issue?
Well, I probably won't try to weigh into the wars in the Middle East.
Come on, read a paragraph or two.
But I think it's fascinating that these self-driving cars are going to have to be making these snap judgments like we've tried to do, and have these preferences and trying to figure out who survives and who dies in situations. But I am looking forward to self-driving cars coming along, because I do think overall the roads are going to be safer, and these kind of decisions probably will happen. If once they're up and running, once they're all set up, I think these kind of situations are going to happen so few, so rarely that it's...
I totally agree with you. And at the risk of undermining all the work we've done to make the episode itself, it's like, once we have self-driving cars, these situations, I think, will be so few and far between if we've done it right, which I think will be, if there's a mass rollout, we have cracked the code pretty well, that it's almost kind of not very relevant.
But I think that this stuff is very important. Like, it's, figuring out, I guess, the sort of moral weightings we assign to different factors that can influence a person. That has repercussions for hospital resourcing. It's very, very important. And also just to think about, I guess, the values that us three hold that underpin the kind of decisions we make in these situations, I think is worthwhile to explore.
Yeah, and it also is amazing because you guys don't have car licenses, so you can
also true.
You can drive,
but I do have a wife, which is scary.
Yeah,
and he is on Tinder, which is terrifying. So we've all got stakes. We've all got a horse in this race. Thank you so much to the bar.
Yes,
thank you.
The Gypsy Tea Room in Greyland, Auckland, for having us here. It's beautiful.
Come down and have your own philosophical chats.
Absolutely,
and lovely beer.
This has been Socrates Walks into a Bar.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Socrates walks into a bar.